And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes! Echo down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange!
145! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, you know.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
The methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You read? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Well, hello everybody. It's Booster 13's rollout time. It doesn't seem real yet, but we are just days away from Flight 6 of Starship, and it's going to become more real when both vehicles are at the pad and they start stacking them, and this is an integral part of this process. They have to roll Booster 13 down Highway 4 and join up with what is already Ship 31 out there. So we have to cover this because it is a rollout for launch, which is very exciting. So, luckily, you don't have to listen to my monotonous tones for the next hour or so. We have Mr. Trevor Sesnick. Say hello, Mr. Trevor Sesnick.
Yes, hello. I mean, it's kind of crazy that it's just over a month after the last launch, and here we are, rollout of Flight Booster for a ship that's already there.
Indeed, and it's actually an interesting point here. You might see some little dropouts. That happens because the camera, with its connection to where it sends the internet through the air, there we go, I'm being very technical here, is kind of blocked by a big massive steel rocket, which is basically in front of it. So we will see some little dropouts, but we'll get as much coverage as we can and some nice roll-bys our highway site and via our trailer at the launch site. So we're going to get lots of good views, but I always like to preempt people to know that we do expect some slight dropouts because it is a massive steel rocket that is just in the way there, and that does block the signal sometimes, as you might have expect. Now, if you've got any questions, you know the routine by now. Do at NASASpaceflight, followed by your question. It doesn't matter if it's a super chat or if it's the first time you're here and you're just asking your first question. We will all treat the questions the same way. If it's a good question, we'll try and answer it and we'll put it into our panel, and then we can just put it on screen and try and answer it best we can. So that is the routine we do here. Make sure that if you've got a question, do that at NASASpaceflight first, because if you do it live in chat, it tends to scroll off the top of the page really fast, especially on streams like this where there's a lot of interest. So that is the routine for that. Also, we'll basically kind of preempt some of our coverage. We're going to do a live stream for the actual full stacking, and that's when we'll reveal the patch to everybody. Now, we have done a little teaser. In fact, I should have been quite clever by putting this into the pinned comment right now. In fact, what I'll do is, because I can't multitask, I can't talk and do things at the same time, it's just too much for me. I'm getting old. What we'll do is, I'll put the pinned comment into chat, which is the latest video, the one with Daz talking over it. It is the latest news. It includes Ship 31's rollout. There is a little teaser in there that there's a code. Now, I'm going to be terrible by saying there's a clue about where you'll find the code. It's actually like a URL. It's on the side of a van. That's all I'll say. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that as it is, because you're meant to look for it, but I struggle to find it myself, so I thought I'd mention it. It's actually, there's a Nightbot command, which is not fair. It's actually a tease. There's a van in the video. I'm not giving away too much now, where it's on the side of the van. If you type that in, you'll get to be able to pre-order the Flight 6 patch before it gets revealed properly during full stack. In fact, Trevor, when do you think full stack will occur? I'm thinking tomorrow, but it might be too soon because they're going to put Booster 13 on the Orbital Launch Mount, and it might take a while just to make sure everything's okay before they put Ship 31 on top.
Yeah, my guess is they're probably planning for a full stack tomorrow, with the obvious caveat that if they run into some, minor problems, which they have in the past with alignment and whatnot, they could easily do that on Thursday. The good news is they're not going to be doing any full stack testing ahead of launch. We're expecting them to just full stack, and the next, test will be launch day. So they definitely have a little bit of margin in the schedule if they're not able to fully stack tomorrow.
There we go. I'm going to pin this video, which I was just talking about there, for people who want to get in first with the Flight 6. Amazingly, it's already selling really well. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. We don't use, it's not a marketing trick this. We don't say, once they're gone, and then suddenly find another stock full of them. It doesn't work that way. We basically work with, obviously, Pauline designs the patches. Hang on, let's do this pin tweet first. Hang on. Video and patch code. That's really mean because people are going to go, where's the patch code after about 1 minute of watching a video? There it is, pinned in chat right now. What we do is we get Pauline, the amazing Pauline, with us to design a patch. You've seen 1 to 5. I know a lot of you like them because a lot of you bought them, to the point that we sold out of nearly every single one of them. We have to then order them from the special patch company, who say, how many do you want? And we'll say a number that we think's not too much, because we don't be left with loads, otherwise we make a massive loss, and that's just silly. And we don't get too few in, because that means a lot of people will miss out, and that's just not very good economics, is it, for a store? So what we do is we go for a number, we think that number's enough. And amazingly, they tend to sell out, which is incredible because we don't expect it. But once they're gone, we have to reorder that same number again if we want to get more in. We can't do that. That's just ridiculous. We do say once they're gone, they're gone. So that's why we're making a big deal of this pre-order business and basically this code thing, because once you get one, it means you are guaranteed to get one. The one thing I will say, as somebody who replies to all the store messages, please make sure your address is correct. Please. Please, please, please. Trevor's laughing because he knows how frustrated I get with it. I know it's not easy because when you're ordering stuff on your phone or what have you, maybe your old address is still as your autofill. Just double check before you check out because it's so hard to change the address once it's been put in the system. But yeah, that's just one little tip for you there. Please, 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 please put the right address in because it's really hard to change it once you put it in. There we go. Right, carrying on. Do we have any questions, Trevor, before I babble on too much?
Yeah, I mean, I just have to chime in. The new patches, Pauline did phenomenal work, so stay tuned. It's cool. But I think the first thing that the first question I see in chat is a bunch of people are kind of wondering what differences are there between Booster 12 and Booster 13. And I think the answer to that is these two vehicles are very similar, right, Chris?
Yeah, we're going to see the change. And I can understand people wondering about changes because we have seen that alliteration of changes during the initial flights to where we are now. But the big change will be on the next ship, which is Ship 33. That's going to be a Block 2 ship. And then we are going to see a change to the booster, which will be a Block 2 booster. But that is further down the line. So we are kind of in this situation now where we're looking at slight modifications, and it really is mainly to do with the ship. Those of you who noticed in the photographs that Jack has put out there, and others, that the TPS is very much different looking. I don't think that's a correct way of phrasing it. It does look different now because they have actually taken a lot of TPS tiles off the vehicle. And that is that, I'm correct in saying, Trevor, related to potential future catch hardware that's going to go on? That head just really kind of like threw me there, just going across the screen. There's a big camera behind you, Mr. Man, with the head. So maybe you'll notice that. But yeah, mainly it's to do with how the TPS will perform during re-entry ahead of them putting on catch hardware for when they start catching the ships.
Yeah, so that's correct. We've seen SpaceX has removed about 8 columns of tiles on either side of the ship. And the reason why they did that is because that's where the chopsticks would be hitting the vehicle if they go for a catch attempt of ship in a similar way to how they successfully caught Booster 12. Additionally, they didn't do a full revamp of the TPS on ship like they did with the ship on Flight 5. They only redid the hot areas, like around the flaps and all of the areas where the tiles are mainly on with adhesive and whatnot. So because of that, it's kind of a bit weird how the ship looks, and there's a lot of gap filler in some places, and I don't think the heat shield looks quite as good as on previous flights. However, I think SpaceX is kind of okay with that since this is the last V1 ship. They're like, we have upgrades in the future, whatever, we don't super care.
I think it's also important to put out there, like we were mentioning with the sonic booms, be prepared if you go there for sonic booms. In this case, it's for everybody watching on live on stream or whatever, is because they may lose the ship on this one. Now, that is not, we've checked with Adrian, because Adrian likes talking to the FAA, that would not trigger an investigation if they lose the ship on re-entry, because it is part of the objectives of testing the TPS. And we know what SpaceX is like. SpaceX is not immune from losing things and blowing up engines, because they get data from it, and it's very, very important to get the data, and it's something that SpaceX has done throughout its history. It's willing to do that to speed up the process of alliteration so they get the improvements on future vehicles. But we could lose a ship, and I would be very careful to note that as a hardcore audience, as we all are, I'm sure we'll all appreciate it, but be prepared for the mass media headlines about Tesla Dodge person suddenly loses vehicle. Oh no, disaster. No, it'd be something that they would not be unexpected. Now, if the ship survives, then wow, that's amazing. They really have got this situation with the ship re-entries down to a T, and that does bode very well for the future attempts where they will eventually start looking to catch the ship. I would probably say catching the ship is still several flights away. What do you think, Trevor?
Yeah, I think I probably agree. Right, it's definitely not on this flight. I don't think it'll be on the first version 2 flight. I think they'll want to have a successful entry with version 2. So I think it's at least 2 flights away, probably closer to 5 or 6 flights away. But I do think we can get, and someone who knows more than me about this' opinion, is I believe Alex is joining us.
Yeah, I was actually preparing for being on commentary today, and suddenly I see, oh, they're live. Okay, so yeah, I'm here around, and it looks like, speaking of being here and around, I'm seeing that police car moving. Maybe they're about to make way for the booster rollout. We'll see. But on that same note, Chris, you were talking about potentially losing a ship. People need to also remember that this is going to be the second time they attempt a catch of the booster. It's not guaranteed that it's going to work, just like on the first try, right? As we've seen with Falcon 9, you can still fail after many, many attempts. So that is always in the back of my mind, when even during liftoff and whatever, like, I don't want to see that, of course, but every single time there's a Starship launch, I have them in the back of my mind. Something can still go wrong on the parts of the flight that in previous flights has gone successfully. And that will be totally normal. Like, we are in a development phase. There are new things every now and then. As you mentioned, there are very little, there are very subtle changes on the booster and on the ship and everywhere else. And some of those can trigger an issue, right? There might be something going on that we have not seen. Or it's maybe one of those things that it's like 1 in 10 flights or 1 in 100 flights or whatever that just takes place. And so, it's always in the back of our mind. If it happens, again, these are development flights. These are test flights. It's not a huge deal. They'll deal with that, and fix it.
You know what, Alex? That's a good point. I keep thinking about the ship. I keep thinking about the TPS change and thinking, well, if they lose the ship, let's be careful to make sure we calibrate people's expectations accordingly. But you're right. The booster catch on Flight 5 was bonkers. It was totally bonkers. And it's something where I fully expected them to go for it, but then when they gave the command, they were going to go for it during the actual flight itself, but then maybe I thought maybe they'll just say, let's not send the command, let's send it back to the Gulf. Let's do another water landing because we aren't quite there yet with everything we need from to bring it back. And then we're like, nope, command sent. What was it? Command center true. I remember that we got some more internal comms on the loop on the Flight 5 highlights video, the one that announced Flight 6. And it was interesting. I think it was command center true, was it? Did anyone remember that one?
Yeah, I don't quite remember, but that was certainly a very cool command. And there goes booster.
Ooh, bang on time. Just like our streams, never late.
Right. I think to your point, though, this really highlights SpaceX's mentality, because right, they're willing to take risks and go for it, yet they make it like very clear on their website. Oh, I forgot to
Sorry.
mute my stream and
No, that was me. Sorry, my mistake. I was trying to do a Bandicam.
no, you're good. But then, right, importantly, on the website post where they were announcing Flight 5, they said, quote, "We accept no compromise when it comes to ensuring the safety of public and our team, and the return will only take place if the conditions are right." So I think it's just like this awesome attitude that SpaceX has. If they're willing to push, but then if some data is not totally happy and they're putting people at risk, they're like, nope, we're not going to pursue it. And I think that is like truly great to hear.
They have booties on the Raptors.
Yay.
I saw one of those through one of those openings.
I do like the booties because it reminds me of when we had shuttle. Shuttle facts time. I've taken about 10 minutes before I mentioned shuttle. The rollovers, they called it, was when the orbiter left the OPF and went to the VAB. They called it a rollover. And then rollouts was when the full stack left the VAB and went to 39A or 39B. The rollovers was where you had the RS-25Ds with their booties on, and Rocketdyne called them booties. And people go, "Chris, why you call them booties on the Raptors?" It's just my shuttle history. It really is. That's what they called them. They called them the booties. To see the difference between 3 booties on the back of an orbiter and the 33 booties on the Raptors for boosters is like, we're living in the future, boys and girls.
Yeah. That is insane. 11 times more engines on this than shuttle. Well, if you exclude the SRBs, but... Anyway, to some more questions. Actually, a bit of support coming in from Matthew. Thank you very much. Saying, love everything you guys do. I support the channel when I can and want to see the full stack before launch. What's the soonest before launch I can see it? You can basically see it as soon as the road... Assuming you're at Starbase, as soon as the road opens from that stacking operation, you can basically go down and get within like 120 meters or so of the stack. Just be very careful to stay on public land. Do not go onto SpaceX's property, but you can get absurdly close to a full stack, and it is very, very cool. Here's a question, I think, for Alex. High Reactivity is wondering, why are they testing the limits of V1 flaps despite them being outdated and changed on version 2 of ship?
Well, that's the case for the forward flaps. The aft flaps are still there, right? They are the same design on version 2. So, yeah, why not? And also you can extrapolate a bunch of things. Like, just because it is in a different location, it doesn't mean that you cannot really use that data to, you know, go in and be able to extrapolate a little bit of how the version 2 flaps will work in terms of, you know, having a grip on the air and everything, trying to you know, correctly point the ship in the way that it needs to for that landing. The same thing can be said, for example, when they did this orbital hop campaign, right? You know, from SN8, 9, 10, 11, and 15, when they did all of those, the flaps were different. Both the forward and aft flaps were changed for these, you know, more orbital ships, I guess. They are not orbital, but you know what I mean, right? The ones that are actually supposed to go into space, have their heat shield and everything. These ships have different flaps than the ones that were used on those earlier ships, and yet, you know, they still do the things that they need to do. We saw Flight for, you know, Ship 29 and Ship 30 being able to go through re-entry using their flaps, and then they did the belly flap as well, you know, the flip and burn. So, of course, just because they changed doesn't mean that that's going to be useless data, right? Because you can, again, you can extrapolate, and also for version 2, as I was saying, the aft flaps will still be the same.
Right. Yeah, and I guess for people who may not be super aware, on this flight, it is just the final portion of that entry burn that they're, or sorry, not of the entry burn, of the reentry of the ship that they are planning on having a little bit higher of an attitude for to get more data out of that those flaps and the control system in general.
You can say that Ship 31 will have quite an attitude during that landing.
Yeah.
Was that a Sawyer pun?
Yes. This early in the morning at 7 a.m.
Amazing. Yeah.
Ricky Nixon is wondering, is the hot staging ring on now, or will they install it on the launch mount? Well, as you will be able to see very soon, the hot staging ring is currently installed on booster. So they just need to put booster on OLM. There it is. And once booster's on OLM, put ship on booster, and they'll have a full stack for launch in under 112 hours.
It's also a sign of the future. I think they're trying to condense the flow. We used to call it processing flow all the time. They're trying to condense the processing flow from where they get a vehicle prepared and ready, rolled out, and then prepared for launch. I think we might be seeing a lack of any kind of fueling test. Would I be correct in saying that, Alex? I think they're going to just go straight to stack and then go straight through to launch day.
I mean, at one point, they want rapid reusability, right? And that means being quick. But also not just rapid reusability, but rapid operations, right? And that also means not just going quick after you land, but also being quick after you produce the vehicle, right? And that also goes back to reusability as well, because if you can produce, you can have a very short time frame between when you finish the production and you are able to launch that vehicle. That means that when you have to take that vehicle out of the fleet for a major refurbishment, right? They're going to be doing this sort of concept just like with airplanes where, every X amount of flights, the vehicle is just removed from the fleet. It goes into a refurbishment process and then goes back in. So if you can do that, for production, you can also do that for the major refurbishment phases. And so that will be a very nice thing to do as well, where you don't need a bunch of, extra work, and you can reduce all the times and everything. Anything that you can do to optimize any processes, that's good.
Especially if you delete the process. Just to make Elon extra happy.
Best part is no part.
Can I just give a quick mention? Sorry, Trevor. There was always a 1 second gap, and I'm thinking, do I talk or do I wait for Trevor? And I'm thinking, oh, of course, it's going to be bound to me talking over somebody. But just look at the site, the production site now. It's really looking like a real facility, and I say that carefully because I'm going back to the days where anyone in chat, help me out here. Anyone in chat remember when they built the high bay? We're all going, wow, now that's a big building. Now they're serious. It's really grown since. I mean, now you've got Star Factory, you've got 2 mega bays along with high bay. You've also got the big parking lot they built there. They've got the office building they're building there. It really looks like something more permanent, because I said it carefully as well. Remember, there was an all hands meeting, or I think an overview from Elon, where it was looking like most operations were going to be based in Florida, and that Starbase was going to be almost relegated to the point of just R&D. Now, it's looking very likely, with 2 towers especially, that Starbase remains front and center, and we've not seen the progress at KSC that we kind of expected. So KSC will become an integral part for Starship. There's no doubt about it. We're going to see multiple pads there at some point. But it has been a renewed focus on Starbase operations. And I think the production site, along with the second tower being built at the launch site, really portrays that well. And just this shot really kind of resonated with me. Just seeing the lights on and the size of the buildings and this booster rolling out. And chat is agreeing. So yeah, I'm not the only one who's seen that now.
And to be fair,
I was just thinking the other day about the high bay and how absurdly massive it seemed. And now it's like, why is it even there? Like, just get rid of it.
Yeah. To be fair, they do have plans, big plans for Florida, right? The only thing is that, they at one point they wanted to do both at the same time, and that obviously stretches all of their resources. It kind of made sense to focus first here at Starbase and be like, okay, let's get things done first. They were building a launch tower and everything there for Starship at 39A. And so they were like, that was in 2022, and around early 2023 they said, okay, here we'll stop, we'll focus totally. If you remember, early 2023, that was when they were still trying to get one single full stack flight of Starship out of the ground. They also got a bunch of concrete out of the ground as well, as you remember. But it was quite a good decision for them to focus here at Starbase with what they had. And now that they are a lot further into the program, it makes more sense to now expand and try to get more launch pads, more production sites, including the plans that they have for Florida. And we've seen already the paperwork. We started to see some big tent being built at Roberts Road, so hopefully maybe in the next couple of years we're going to see a massive expansion at Florida. And that'll be quite exciting for the future of the program, because then, one production site like this, that's cool. But two, wow, it's like the movie Contact, right, Chris? I know you like to.
Oh, I love that movie.
To make that
Yeah.
reference.
Why build one when you can have two for twice the price?
Exactly. So yeah, and just the phase one of their expansion at Florida, it's like this big, massive area, bigger than even the current Star Factory, and so they'll be able to have plenty of space there to build their own boosters and ships in Florida and be able to launch them from 39A, from Slick 37 as well. They have this, massive launch cadence already planned out and everything. So, we're gonna eat well, as they say, the youngies now.
Has Trevor seen the movie Contact?
Is there any point in asking?
Oh no, don't with Jodie Foster.
I don't know who that is either.
Right. Oh my god. Right. So we need to. You're worse than Adrian. We need to set up a movie list of real priority movies that you need to watch. Not ones we just find cool, but ones that are kind of relevant to spaceflight. And Contact is definitely one of those. Not least because I have so many stories about that movie. I will quickly tell chat the story I've mentioned before, but many people might not have heard it. Is during this, if you've watched the movie Contact, there's a part where the machine, spoiler alert for Trevor already, the machine at 39A, which they built over the shuttle pad, blows up. And you see the parts coming across the turn basin and splashing into the water, and all these people running. That was during preparations for an actual shuttle launch, and it's actually members of the media running. They were all asked, do you want to be in a Hollywood movie? And they said, yes, please. And they were all told, right, when we say go, go, and everyone start running. So they're actual members of the media for a shuttle launch, pretending to be at the Contact preparations, actually running on, and I know people actually in the movie. So there we go. Carry on. Sorry, I digressed.
I will consider the possibility of watching it.
It'll be on streaming services. It's a free movie to watch, I'm sure.
Let's see. Going to some more support. Ben says, let's go Lucky 13. I fully agree with that statement. Looking forward to seeing this flight in person. I'm jealous. Hopefully the views are as gorgeous as last time, and enjoy the flight and hopefully catch. Dale became a Capcom member. Welcome to our members Discord server. Say hello to all of us. And then Matthew V in a super chat wondering, how many hours before flight does the road/beach close? Can you visit Monday morning before flight? Alex.
Yeah, so we already know that because they have released the road closures for flight. So the road closure begins at 8 a.m. on the morning of the launch. So essentially the window opens at 4 p.m. and it goes for 30 minutes. So about 8 hours before the launch, that's when the road closure will be in place for that.
So Monday morning, at least after light, is or after
Mhm.
sunrise, it will be closed.
Yep.
So I would make sure you get to see it on Sunday. I nearly said Friday, but that does not make sense. Sunday evening, and I'm sure you'll see a bunch of familiar faces down there. It is quite a cool time to be at Starbase. Let's see. David is wondering, will this flight be as good or better than the last flight? Hopefully better.
Oh, you know what? We can mention one thing about this flight that's different, and that's the T0 time, or at least the launch window, I should say, because it's going to be a daytime launch and a daytime splashdown if Ship 31 survives. So we're going to see, hopefully from the boy camera, I know, boy, what's the American version of that? We call it a boy cam. Buoy cam, that's right, that's the other version, yeah. Hopefully we'll get a nice footage of splashdown, the flip and burn landing of Ship 31 in daylight, because of this new window they've selected. But also it means that all the way up to launch, we're going to have some good views, because nighttime views are never easy with cameras. Never really works out too well. So we're going to have a nice, good countdown, several hours of the countdown in daytime. Most of the stream in daytime, and then a launch in daytime. So we're going to see different conditions. I do like the dawn launch view. It does look very nice. I mean, Flight 5 was spectacular, but it's just something different. And I think a lot more people might be able to watch it, because the time zones were quite difficult for the Americans, at least, especially on the West Coast, for these dawn launches from Texas. So hopefully we'll get more people interested in the future of Starship watching this launch.
And also, because we are not yet in the summer, we have already left that behind. Being at 4 p.m., in that afternoon time in Texas, it's not going to be a pain in the eyes. If it were, for example, in the middle of the summer, it will be all blurry because of the heat distortion.
Yeah, thankfully this is not a summer launch. Ian is talking about the event I got to see today. That was cool that you were there. Sarah Gillis came and talked to students of Sea Boulder, which was just awesome. She's so cool in person as well. That's not a Sawyer flex, but yeah. Let's see. Hugh is wondering, does SpaceX already have a launch license for Flight 7, or is this license only good through Flight 6?
Only good through Flight 6. Look at
Do
that.
we expect that further launch licenses will probably be easier to get, though, correct?
I
Since
mean,
the changes are reduced.
we don't know, right? What kind of changes might come on that first flight of a version 2. On Flight 7, we have no idea. So right now, I'm not sure what will happen, to be fair.
Right. Okay. Cloning Guide is wondering why I don't like watching movies. Lack of time, they're usually disappointing. It is a lot of time, and I've just never super been into them. Like, I'm impatient, so therefore I get bored quickly.
It is all a lie, because I know he watches all of the Taylor movies, so.
Yeah, so Taylor Swift brings out a special 3-hour live concert DVD.
Exactly.
Technically a movie, isn't it? Trevor's going to go, nah, I ain't got time for it.
I have watched that probably 50 times.
See?
That's why you've got no time left for movies.
But it's
Speaking of listening to something interesting, are you listening to that? That's the SPMTs.
Yes. Time to bring out Bandicam.
Huh.
Big thanks to the people in the back, but Carson and Jay, our producers, who do all these camera movements, all our SBL operators. I'm probably missing somebody out. Please note in control panel if you're involved in this stream, because I want to give you a little shout out, because especially our SBL operators during 24-hour SBL streams. They're doing so much work, keeping an eye on things, moving cameras, changing scenes, and it's an amazing team we've got. But I'm going to be quiet for a bit so you can hear the SPMTs go brrr. Yes, I can mention Tanner, Need Pizza and Tracy are all involved as well. Thank you to all of those people for helping out here. Is he going to stop for our cameras?
The walk of the Super Heavy booster.
Very cool. I do have a lot of admiration for the person with the control panel you can see on the right hand side right now. Before we went on the pan up there. On the tilt up. Pan up, tilt up. Sorry, Jack.
Is that Orion?
I don't know my stars. Alright, I'm terrible.
Yep, that's Orion. You can even see the nebula. Look at that.
Wow.
We need to ask us about that. I know Orion because of Men in Black, the movie.
Oh, Ryan's belt. That's right.
Yeah, Orion's belt.
Oh, again, it's going to be me and Alex doing movie quizzes here.
Yep. Meanwhile, Trevor will be like, what?
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about. But I do think that when it goes by our camera, that is always such a good reminder of how just ridiculously huge this vehicle is. Look how the people are just so tiny. Anyway, to some more of your guys' questions, as always, if you have any, at NASASpaceflight in chat. And here's one from Mike, wondering, have the chines been reinforced on Booster 13? So, right, Alex, we saw in the SpaceX website update that they talked about some structural reinforcements in areas. Do we have any idea where these areas are?
We're not fully sure which areas are those, but we assume that it's probably, the... I was just looking back. They hit the sign there on the side of the road. But yeah, we assume that one of those is probably gonna be the chines, right? We saw one of those arrow covers. Like the structure underneath was okay, but the arrow cover was not. And apparently, from one of from that talk on the video that Elon posted, I cannot believe that happened. With the Diablo game and everything. Apparently that would have been a quite substantial issue if that had gone any further, right? So they probably reinforced those. Unfortunately, I have not been able to see any close-ups since Booster 13 rolled out, or at least, like full daylight, really, really good close-ups. But we'll probably see that once it's on the pad. We'll have plenty of photographs of those, which I'm sure Crispy will put out on the
Was that just
on the members. Yeah, I'm looking at the sign. Well, that's the Texas Department of Transportation.
Oh, it's off. Oopsies.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Casualty. Man down.
Is that truck going to fix it? Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't be surprised.
The dude's like, darn it, Jim. We talked about this.
Oh, they're removing it. Okay.
Oh, he's gonna. He don't look very happy with it.
I don't
No.
even know what it was. Anybody have any
Roosevelt
idea?
band.
It'd be something pointless.
Was that the Rio Grande sign, or is that one?
No.
That's further down,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's more horizontal rather than vertical.
That's going to be in his garage by the end of the day. I think, all right, that's my sign now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, RIP sign. Apparently, it was roadwork ahead signs.
those feel like they have been there forever. That road is always under work.
The Department of Sign Protection sign. That'd be funny.
Let's see. Anonymous saying snagged the patch and print. They caught the booster. They caught the booster. Did you hear that? I did hear that. But thank you for getting the patch and the print. I'm really excited for the patch to be released to everyone. Then Carrie also got a patch. Saying, I'm better known to y'all as Dr. Holly. Thank you, Dr. Holly. I definitely did not recognize your first name. I've always seen you as Dr. Holly. Anyway, to some more questions. Here's an interesting one. What can SpaceX gain from footage of landing ship in the day that they can't gain in flight data?
Well, it's mostly about the heat shield. I remember from Flight 5 on their commentary, they said so one of the things that they specifically said was that Ship 30 landed differently. It was commanded to land differently than Ship 29. When Ship 29 did its flip and landing burn, its only command was just like, flip and land and whatever, like just come to 0 meters per second at 0 meters above the ocean and you're good. For Flight 5 with Ship 30, it was pre-commanded before the flight to do a landing burn such that it will be able to stay at least above the ocean for a little bit longer, at least a few more seconds, to be able to get visual on the heat shield from the buoy cams, right? And so that's one of the things that I'm mostly sure they want to have once they go into daylight with Flight 6, which is an actual visual on the heat shield. And that'll be very, very important for them to be able to, confirm all of their models and whatnot for Block 2.
Right. Very cool. As the vehicle approaches the launch site, starting to see those towers in the background.
They're making good time with these rollouts now. I've noticed, I think Alex probably remember, I don't know if you remember, Trevor, but they actually had one rollout where the SPMT lost a wheel and they were stuck there for quite a while trying to replace that wheel on the SPMT.
Don't jinx it.
I
Yeah.
don't remember that. I remember when they lost a power, like a generator or something. So then had to swap out the generator. But
Also, look at the top of, which one is it, Mega Bay 2, that Alex? To look like a bit of a disco going on there.
Yeah, that's actually the mural that we saw from
Oh, yes.
Steve.
Yes,
That's the one with the, you can kind of see the silhouette actually of the astronaut
That's amazing.
with the arm extended and everything.
Also, how old am I? Disco.
very old is the answer to that.
Mhm. Accurate.
Oh, this is a question for Alex in a super chat. Man on Mars is wondering, quiz for the late crew on the topic of constellations and stars. Which current star in the observable night sky will become the North Star in 16,000 years around the Horn? Alex, I'm gonna let you guess on that first.
I think it's Vega. I think it's that.
Let's hold on. I am. Yeah, I
Everybody
agree.
replying
I think
Vega.
it is Vega. I asked Grok.
Oh, dearie me.
The star that will become the North Star in approximately 16,000 years is Vega, which is currently one of the brightest stars in the constellation Lyra. Thank you, Grok.
Well, there you go.
You didn't need Rock. You got chat. Look at chat. Chat had Vega already. There we go.
Yeah, but the Everything app has Grok, so.
Look in the back panel, Trevor.
He ain't wrong.
He is not wrong at all. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. The Deadly Driver is wondering, if you had a choice, what rocket would you travel to go to the moon or Mars? Well, I think Chris would say shuttle.
Oh, well, actually, no. The funny thing is, because my nerdism on shuttle knows they couldn't do that. It's just the orbiters were basically ring fenced into low Earth orbit. So, as much as television, not least the latest, what's that? I've got it completely. My brain's not working. For All Mankind. Thank you. There we go.
I went to orbit around the moon. Didn't land.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So technically they were playing with it there, but no, I would definitely go on Starship. Starship has won my affection, not to the point, because obviously I'm a child of shuttle, shall we say. It's the first vehicle I ever saw launch, and it's the thing I got into, and the thing that I covered. So I'm going to be a fan, and I say it carefully, of shuttle forever. I say carefully because I do know the limitations. I'm not a fanboy of shuttle. I know there was problems, and I know they were risky, and I know they're expensive. Starship, I always like to say Starship is what shuttle wanted to be, and I do say that with authority, because the space shuttle was designed to be rapidly reusable. Never fully reusable, because obviously the SRBs were just basically taken apart in casings, and the ETs were expended over the Indian Ocean and burned up, but the Starship program is proving it can do that now. It can be the game changer. It can be rapidly reusable. And also the capability is far more as well. Not just on up mass, but also on where it can go destination-wise. So I would love that Dear Moon would come back, Tim Dodd would get his flight, and I'd get on the second one. There we go. Because I would love to go on Starship. It just looks amazing.
I really wonder if a Dear Moon type mission will come back, right? One interesting thing that we had when we had the interview with Jared Isaacman the other day is he was saying that there are at least 2 more Polaris missions, but probably more. So it would be really cool if, part of the Polaris program was a mission just bringing a bunch of artists around the moon, because frankly, I think Jared is in a much better position for it than Yozaku ever was, just because, Jared is... I would trust Jared with my life, and I've never met the guy. He seems like the best commander for something like that.
Yeah, we sound like we fawn over certain people because we interviewed him and what have you. Trust me, we could never have interviewed Jared, and everything he comes across with reminds me of the perfect mix of somebody who's made something of themselves in business, but also has that thread of a commander, a real NASA astronaut commander through them already, and brought that to the commercial element of what they've been looking to achieve. And let's face it, not only have they changed the way that commercial and private missions are done, but it's also for a great cause. You cannot get a better cause than child cancer that they're fighting against at St. Jude's. So everything about the way that Jared has approached this, from the teamwork, from the mission planning, from being absolutely involved in it, and the good causes as well, you cannot help but root for him. And I say that, without any kind of my Yorkshireness does not allow me to fawn over people for no reason whatsoever. They have to earn it in my eyes, and by heck, he's earned it. And the fact that we have got to interview him and speak to him and interact with him has only just backed that up, because everything he comes across with is spot on. And it's not something you can right from a script. It's not something you can read off a script. It's something that is coming from him genuinely, and I really admire him for it. So whatever future missions they've got planned, I'm excited about. And I think Trevor makes a good point about the fact that we have these future Polaris missions that are not yet revealed, that I personally think could be a really great version of Dear Moon, but also with more authority, because it's not just artists around the moon. And I say it carefully because that sounds like an amazing thing anyway. It could be a really proper, amazing first private mission on a Starship. That would be something to really get behind.
Yeah, I mean, I think Polaris Dawn was, in my opinion, by far the most exciting mission of the year. Like, catching a Super Heavy is awesome, but seeing 2 humans exit Dragon for the first private EVA was properly insane. And I think that's going to be the least exciting of all of the Polaris missions. I think this program is just going to continue to ramp and move humanity forward one mission at a time. Let's see, Matt's gifted 10 Red Team memberships. Thank you very much. If you got one of those, make sure you thank them in chat.
Yeah, a good month to be on your free month of Red Team membership, thanks to Matt's. And all our gifted, we get so many gifted memberships. It's an amazing community we have. And Matt's is one of those, to the point that Matt's has got his own command. Hats off to Matt's. Because literally, when people do so many gifted memberships, I think the least we can do is give them a command in chat. So if you did get a membership, in this case, in the last 10 from Matt's, just say thank you to Matt's, because it really is a nice thing to have, especially around the fact that we've got a launch coming up, because we have lots of membership content at that level, not just photographs, but also the 4K multi-screen stream. What's the way of describing it? I'm sure there's a better description of it. But basically, it's like a control panel for yourself with all the cameras all the time, for you to basically have your own way of watching the stream without having to rely on what we provide you. You get to choose it yourself because you have all the screens in front of you. So you have all those things as well. So, and you also...
You can pretend you're Kevin Michael Reed.
You could pretend you're Kevin Michael Reed. How amazing is that? Pretending you are Kevin Michael Reed. I mean, that's a selling point. We should put that in the membership descriptions. Right, Red Team and above, you can be your own Kevin Michael Reed.
And this is when Kevin comes shouting, no, you don't want that. Let's see, speaking of that, Micah gifted, I think this is a Micah original, gifted 10 Red Team memberships. Telstar86 gifted 5. Connor G gifted 5.
Wow.
And then EJ became a Red Team member. So if you got one of those, make sure you thank them and welcome EJ to our membership program. As Chris said, lots of goodies in there. And then Man's on Mars with another super chat saying, would you rather captain your HLS to touchdown, or who would you rather have captain your HLS to touchdown on the moon? Ed Baldwin, Gordo Stevens, Kevin Bacon, or Tom Hanks?
Oh, goodness. Well, going on their characters that they portrayed, you'd have to say Tom Hanks. I would say, I'm just thinking of the options here. Ed Baldwin, he's quite a maverick in For All Mankind. He's kind of risk taker. So yeah, I'll probably go for more of a sensible head like Tom Hanks' portrayal in Apollo 13.
Yeah, same. I will say Tom Hanks too.
Who would you select, Trevor?
I don't know who Kevin Bacon is. Is this just
You don't what? Like, are you serious, Trevor?
Have you never watched Footloose?
Oh my goodness.
Have I ever watched what?
Oh my word! All right, okay. No, I'm desperately trying not to pick on Trevor, but I love my movies, so it's really hard. Right, well, Kevin Bacon was in Apollo 13 as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Chat has just lost all faith in me, so we'll move on. John saying, this is the second launch scheduled on my birthday for Starship, and luckily the only patch left is from the first one. Thanks for all the coverage. Yeah, it is pretty remarkable that if they launch on Monday, this will be the second Starship launch on November the 18th, in addition to Starlink Group 628, in case you
NGSat
super
20.
care. Not in UT. Oh,
Oh,
I'm
yeah, in
talking about
UTC.
previous missions. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's also funny because there was a point in time where SpaceX had not done any launch in November. Remember that, Trevor?
it's funny. I was actually just talking about this with someone the other night, and now they've launched on all but like 5 days in November. Sorry, 7 days. They haven't launched on the 2nd, the 6th, the 17th, the 19th, the 27th, 29th, and 30th.
Well, there you go. But yeah, now we even have potentially 2 Starship launches on November. Not this November, but like in general, November of a year.
Here's a question. Flight 7. When do we think? We bring this on Raptor sites, but it's probably a different audience, especially at the time of day we're doing this coverage. When do we all think, chat join in, when do we all think Flight 7 could launch? Let's go for the earliest possible. I would say January, but I'm very careful about that because I personally think February, but I think possible for January. Not next Wednesday, George. No, that's asking a bit too much. When do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I think February, it's probably a realistic date. They still have to do the static fire test of the ship and the booster. Usually, like for example, for Flight 6, they had already done the ship static fire test before Flight 5 happened. So, and we don't know, right? It's also going to be the first V2, the first, well, version 2, first Block 2 ship, whatever you want to call it, right? So we don't know if they're going to have any teething issues there. It still uses Raptor 2s, so that's good, for the engine test campaign and everything. But you never know. And so we'll see how they do that. I think there's a good chance that at least by February we're going to see that launch. We'll see.
Yeah, chat's gravitating towards February, I would say. And a good point from Matt's about the fact that because it's changes involved, the FAA may get involved, and of course, that always becomes a pending regulatory approval point. Trevor, when do you think?
Yeah, I think I probably agree with like February or so. I think, like you said, January is definitely possible. It's probably a bit unlikely, but February, and then hopefully just from there slowly ramping up the launch cadence throughout next year.
Yeah, because we still have that Kathy Luder's reference to 25 flights in 2025.
That ain't happening.
No. Now, I'd understand if Elon had said that. I don't think, well, that's typical Elon. But Kathy Luder's, that keeps surprising me.
Well,
what do you think, Alex?
To be fair, what she said is that Elon will tell you that he wants 25 flights in 2025. So she was more like quoting Elon, right? What Elon wants. I'm mostly sure that much more realistic is like 10, 12 launches.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you Falcon will launch 25 times next year. How about that?
It's very optimistic of you, Trevor.
Boy. Yeah, Alex and I have been having fun with Kiko's recent posts, because Kiko said that SpaceX is trying to launch a total of 136 Falcon missions this year, or 140 missions including Starship. And I think that's about a launch every other day for the rest of the year. So then Alex's question to Kiko is, of course, so then how many are you planning for next year? And they won't tell us. They said we have to guess, and then they will confirm. Him and John Edwards will confirm at some point. But I think Alex and I are both predicting in the 180 to 200 Falcon launch range, probably a little under 200, but I wouldn't be surprised if 200 is like the goal, and then they end up, launching like 180 times or something like that.
Yeah, It, I believe that reply that he did to me was because I had already asked multiple times in previous tweets, and so yeah, he knew that I was trying to fish for that number. Because it's super, like, that's one of the things that I really want to know, right? Like, what's the goal for next year? This year is already like month and a half from finishing, right? Like, what's gonna be for 2025? And we've already known the number for Starship. That's 25 as the goal. Again, I have no doubts that's not gonna be met because there's no chance that they reach that. But I do think that the launch cadence will be increased a lot with Starship, just not to that level. Whereas on Falcon 9, they seem to be, demonstrating at least the capability to get 180, maybe 190, potentially 200 if they push a little bit, right? On launches next year. So we'll see about that. But yeah.
Yeah, the top banana in chat saying they will need another drone ship or more RTLs to pull off 180 to 200. Kiko says that's not true. He posted some math on X the other day saying that I think with their current drone ships, they can get 220 launches or something like that a year.
Yeah,
So,
one of the things that he said was precisely that with the current drone ships, they can do a lot of launches, and that's not making in RTLS missions, which they still exist. And I believe we have had maybe like around 20 of those this year, if I'm not mistaken, just off the top of my head. So if they can do something like 180 drone ship landings, right, and then 20 RTLSs next year, that's already 200. And 180 doesn't really, break any records for the drone ships. But they will need really good luck in terms of weather. We'll see.
yes, this was not a good year for weather.
Or second
Hopefully next year
stages.
we don't talk about that. Angry American saying in a super chat saying 2,000 watching with only 640 likes. Let's kick the algorithm monster, smash the 1,500 like challenge for free member gift. I like that goal. It is free as always, but we don't want to talk about it too much. So thank you, Angry American.
Yeah, if I can just, as a kind of like someone from the from behind the scenes almost, just why we ask for likes and why probably other channels ask for likes as well. And I always say, it doesn't matter what channel you're on, anything you like, just it takes a second, just hit like. The reason why is there's no more money involved in it. There's nothing like that. It doesn't work that way. It's about poking the YouTube algorithm to the point that it doesn't denigrate or relegate your videos and your streams. And that's why when you see those silly crypto scam channels pretend to be SpaceX and what have you, and like you go on them and there's like 40,000 people and 80,000 likes, they're all bots. They're using the bots, but that gets them higher in the streams, gets them higher in the rankings and search results. So the only way of fighting those streams is that the legit channels like us have the likes, and it isn't liked by most people. In fact, it's probably less than 10% actually bother to like a video, even if they probably do like it, because it's not something you automatically think of doing. So that's why we ask for likes and why other channels ask for likes, because that helps just make sure that YouTube's algorithm computer understands that this stream is legit and we should promote it to other people. And that's something I think you can all get involved in, because let's face it, I'm sure the hardcore audience we've got in right now all want to see new people get into spaceflight, and if it somehow via likes gets promoted into someone's recommended streams when they go onto YouTube's main page, and they suddenly find, oh, that was interesting, oh, that big booster rolling, that's interesting, I don't know anything about it, but I'll start watching, I'll start learning. That's got to be a good thing. So that's why we say please like the streams. It's not because it's money or anything like that, it's just about promoting the stream. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Moon.
Yeah, I think... Ooh. Some Raptors.
X.
Have some more Bandicam.
About to roll by Hoppy.
I like whoever's in control of that camera there was deciding, wow, I like the wheels in the SPMT mode and the Raptors. Like, what? Scroll up. There we go. Got some Raptors at the end now. There we go. Got some Raptors here as well. And the SpaceX sign. Oh, that's a nice little shot with Hopper on the left and SpaceX sign on the right.
Very cool. Almost at the launch site. The last rollout of this booster. But with that, a little bit more support, Sneezing Eagle became a red team membership. Became a red team member, not a red team membership. Joshua is saying, hey NSF, thanks so much for the coverage. I know everyone says this, but you guys are amazing, especially you, Alex. Alex, you have a fan.
Oh dear me. I'm not that. I don't know.
Take it, Alex.
Thank you.
Alex just goes,
Thank
thank
you, I
you. No, say this,
I'm not
Alex.
used
Say,
to it.
thank you. Another one. That's what you say.
And then Sheriff Tracy gifted 5 red team memberships. Thank you very much, Tracy. Let's see. Kevin is wondering, do you think they will somehow get some drone footage of the splashdown site this time? No, I think we will only be getting the buoy cameras. I don't think we will be getting drone footage until they try to catch one.
Say buoyancy.
Buoyancy?
Yeah, boy. I never understand that buoy. Must be
So you just
American.
call them boy?
Yeah, the boys. Trevor's disgruntled.
This... yeah. Let's see. Here's one for Alex, because I'm not 100% sure what they're referring to. At least I haven't been watching McGregor live today. But he was wondering, what are your thoughts on the Raptor tests on the horizontal stand at McGregor today? 3 deflector tests, 2 fires, and 1 explosion. Alex?
I have not seen it, unfortunately. There's been 4 tests in the horizontal stand. The one that's marked as 1 second, I believe that's the one that Thomas posted about, where there was like a little bit of a hiccup at the startup, right? But then they had another 3 more tests. I have not been able to see this. Oh yeah, they were like 8 hours ago. Yeah, 8 hours ago we were in Canon to launch, if I'm not mistaken. Or just after Canon to launch, and I was prepared for, to go to sleep. There you can see McGregor live. I was referencing those that list of tests on the top left. That allows you to be able to go back and see those tests. Unfortunately, the ones that are 15 hours ago, you will not be able to scroll that back. But we have on social media the one about that Raptor horizontal 1 second. That's the one that had a hiccup at startup. And then there were 3 horizontal tests. And you can scroll back. It will be 7 hours and 58 minutes and whatnot. All the other things. You can scroll back and watch those. I was not able to see those, so I'm not sure what they were all about.
I can actually link in chat the R3, we believe, which went slightly rud, and with context, because exactly why they do the tests. Let's face it, it's not unexpected, as we saw in Raptor 2 in the early days of its testing. They do go boom, and you never know if they're testing it to failure for a start. There we go. I'm going to spam it in chat. I've not spammed in chat for a while. There we go. I've got the rights to spam. And that just shows that it's something they expect. It's very important to put the context in because people who may not understand the point of an engine test center is to have the RUDs as well, because that's the data they'll gather that'll help them learn on how to run these Raptor 3s ahead of their debut flight. And that's the question I was trying to get to after about 30 seconds was, when do we expect Raptor 3s to be involved with flight vehicles? Alex?
When do we expect Raptor 3s on vehicles? Perhaps a few more ships down the line, we might see that. We still have just Raptor 2s on the ship, even for the first version 2 of the ship. But maybe later down the line we'll see Raptor 3s on that.
Trevor, do you think Ship will get them first? Do you think Booster with the Block 2 booster will get them first? I mean, people were expecting them on Ship 33. I thought it was way too soon, obviously. And
I would be pretty surprised. I'd be pretty surprised if Ship doesn't get them first, right? We saw this with Falcon 2. Generally, SpaceX prefers to do upgrades on second stage before booster. That said, there's no doubt that the Raptor 3 engines are definitely more designed for booster than they are ship. Right, a big goal of them was to eliminate the engine housings and heat shields and whatnot, and that obviously matters way more on the booster where you have 33 of them than on the ship where you really only have 3. So that would be my guess, but I don't know, SpaceX has proven me wrong many a times. Goldwolf with a super chat saying, glad to be on board. Welcome. If this is your first time, glad you're here. If you're a regular viewer, welcome back. So going forward, Chris, what can we expect the booster to do now that it is at the launch site?
Well, it'd be interesting to see where they actually take the booster during this roll. I think they'll park it initially and then they'll take it to the chopsticks. I don't know when we'll get a lift of Booster 13 onto the Orbital Launch Mount, whether they'll do this all in one process overnight, or if they'll wait until the morning. And then we'll wait and see how long it takes them to integrate it with the Orbital Launch Mount for stacking with Ship 31. So potentially we could have full stack by tomorrow, but I'm thinking by at least Friday. And then we have the lack of fueling test, we believe, because there's nothing indicating they're going to do any fueling tests. We will see FTS work being the priority work ahead of launch day itself. So those are the things to look forward to coming up, and it's going to be a case of we can't commentate all the way through. I'm desperate for bed at some point. It's now 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, it's silly time to go to sleep. But we will have the 24/7 coverage regardless in Starbase Live, so you will not miss anything.
And also, it doesn't look like a stack will be, like, it doesn't look like they're going to put the booster straight away on the OLM. Normally, when they want to do that, we see the tower getting ready for that. And right now, the quick disconnect arm is, in its sort of retracted position or deployed. I don't know what will be the actual name. Essentially, at the non-lift position, and the chopsticks are at the base of the tower. They are not, ready to accept a booster just yet. So normally, when they want to quickly go and prepare for a lift, they already prepare the tower even before the booster starts rolling out.
Great. Justin with the store message, let's see, with one of Max's prints saying, so excited for Flight 6, great work guys, for sure would ride Starship to the moon, game changer. Yeah, I think game changer is honestly the best way of describing Starship. It is just, as Jack would say, kabonkies, and will continue to just get crazier as these years go on. The man on Mars was saying, would you unrather fly a nuclear-powered shuttle Pathfinder like in For All Mankind around the moon to chase an asteroid, to deploy a nuke and save Earth, or fly a nuclear-powered Starship to do the same task? That's a question for sure. Probably shuttle. Shuttle is cool. Get the heritage in there. Let's see. That TS STEM Nerd 13. Wow, this is, if that TS is Taylor Swift, then this sounds like my alt. Is saying, do you guys think the factory of Boca will grow any more than Pad B and the Star Factory? Or will production begin to ramp up in Florida and Boca be put on the back burner? I definitely don't think Boca will be put on the back burner. I think they will continue making more facilities down here. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point like the high bay gets torn down and perhaps even a mega bay to start building a more permanent factory like they did with Star Factory, but who knows? I'm sure those plans change all the time, even internally at SpaceX.
Yeah, and don't think about it, you know, sort of like being put in on the back burner, more like parallel production, right? Parallel production and launch and testing and everything. It's just in addition, not instead of.
Yeah. With that, I think that is going to do it for us as the booster has arrived at the launch site. Alex, thank you very much for being on.
It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we get to see that full stack returning really, really soon.
Yeah, we'll of course be here with Countdown to Launch tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central. It's 1 p.m. my time. Yeah. 2 p.m. Central. And any other testing that they do, we will of course be live for. And then Chris, thank you very much for being on tonight. In the morning for you.
It's silly o'clock. My pleasure. Thank you.
And then, of course, in the background, we had Carson operating today's stream along with Jay. And then we have all of the SBL ops, Need Pizza, Gage, Tracy, Roger. So it's a huge team in the background helping us out as well. So thank you to all of them. And thank you to you for viewing. Everyone, have a great night. And see you tomorrow on Countdown to Launch. Thanks, everyone.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Traveling up. Roger, planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes! Echo down to nominal.
Fighting downside of speed off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed. We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If the methane would be